The Panthers drop another L, pun intended, against the Eagles in Philly this past Sunday. Ian, how you feeling about that game?
Well, there's a lot of good things to take from it, and it was a disappointing loss, obviously, and but there was definitely some good parts of it.
Definitely so. Another good game by Bryce Young. We'll get into that. We'll get into Xavier Leggett, as all eyes were on him post game. We will also get into some Hornets content today, and then we'll be transitioning into Carolina college hoops. So, Ian, you ready to get it going, man?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Touchdown, Carolina!
You're listening to the Buzz Pound.
Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
A Queen City sports podcast covering your Charlotte Hornets and Carolina Panthers.
Halliburton, nowhere to go! LaMelo's done it! LaMelo's done it! Hornets win! Here comes LaMelo.
Here are your hosts, Ian Blair and Cam Gardner.
Buzzpound, thank you all for joining for episode 14. Keep on supporting us, and we'll continue bringing you content weekly. Ian, how about that Panther game, man? Like you said, a lot to take from it. Bryce Young, another solid game from him. He's starting to make some notice around the league. You got a lot of higher ups talking about him, whether it's journalists and TV personalities. His name is being mentioned. Mentioning him seemed to have benefited him very well. And, you hope to see more games like this from him, but hopefully we can add a win here and there to it.
Yeah, for sure. Coming into the year, and we've mentioned it before on this podcast with how poorly he performed. It's really nice to see him finally kind of start to turn the corner a little bit, and he's really looked good these past couple of weeks. We haven't been able to come out with wins, sitting at 3-10 now, and really looking at a top five pick, which at this point, it's nice to see Bryce play well. But when we're out of playoff contention, so it's like we drop a game and we move up. I'm not one for tanking per se, but our season's pretty much over. We're not going to compete for the playoffs. So you obviously want a good first round pick, and it's nice to see Bryce perform well. He really made some plays. The one in particular, when he took the snap from our end zone and broke a couple tackles. I don't know. Well, he broke one sack. I know there was a defensive lineman that could have got him down and kind of avoided the sack and made a play downfield to Xavier Leggett. And unfortunately, Leggett had a drop later in the drive that could have put us ahead. And it was just unfortunate that he dropped it, but it's nice to see the team kind of start to play a little bit better. And on the Xavier Leggett drop pass, there was still time left on the clock, and our defense has been susceptible to big plays all year. I believe Philly had all of their timeouts left with probably, I don't know how much time was on the clock, but there was still a little bit of time. And we've seen our defense give up, big plays late in the game all year. So who says, even if Xavier Leggett catches that pass, Philly doesn't drive down with all three timeouts and kick a field goal or something like that. But just trying to bring light on the situation. Obviously, it was an unexcusable drop by Xavier Leggett in the end zone. And he's had some drop issues that's started to come up the past couple of weeks. And it's unfortunate to see he is a young kid. He's just a rookie, but it's the Panthers fan base is already calling him Devin Funchess 2.0, and that's concerning, But physically, there's some similarities between the two. But I think Xavier will definitely turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those rookie mistakes. In reality, you think you got to catch those, but as a rookie, you learn from those and make sure you snag those in because that was a very crucial potential touchdown that he dropped. That
Yeah.
could have, like you
Yes.
said, put us ahead. We could have won that game, but
Absolutely.
obviously the football guys just did not want that to happen for us. And they actually caught that one on camera. I thought there was a chance because I didn't see it at first until they showed it from that other angle. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. When the refs called it incomplete, I was like, what are they looking at? I was so
yeah,
confused. And there were some questionable calls earlier in the game. I was like, oh, okay, the refs are against us all the time. But then they showed the
well,
replay and I was like, yeah, that's unfortunate.
I'll say this. It's night and day, that Thielen catch versus the Bucks and this one. This one, yeah, that was not a catch or a touchdown. That Thielen one, I'm still bitter about to this day. There
Yeah,
was no
yeah.
reason that was a touchdown, but we're not going to look in the past. We're moving forward.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. It's
I'm a
definitely unfortunate, dropping these close games. And obviously, you sent that graphic to me or posted it on your social media that the Panthers were improving. We've lost these last couple games only by a combined 12 points. And I believe before that, it was like we were losing by 66 combined points through some previous games. So it's nice to see improvement. Obviously, you want to come out with wins. And at the end of the day, in the NFL, teams, the win-loss record is all that matters. It doesn't matter how much you win by or how much you lose by, but it's really, if you're trying to put it in a vacuum, and it's nice to see the improvement.
Yeah, definitely so. And while we're on that topic, we'll go into some quick stats here. We'll start with passing. Bryce Young, he had 19 completed, over 34 attempted, 191 yards, one touchdown, one interception, unfortunately, but at least it was only one. On the rushing side, Chuba Hubbard doing Chuba Hubbard things, 26 carries, 92 yards, one touchdown. Receiving, Adam Thielen, he had 9 receptions, 102 yards, pretty solid for him this season with that one. Xavier Legette, he had 2 receptions, 39 yards. Could have been more if he didn't drop that one pass. Could
Yeah,
have
yeah,
stacked a
for
little more
sure.
on that. But again, we're going to just look forward. We're not going to look in the past too much here. And David Moore had 2 receptions and 25 yards. So the guys are growing a little bit. I know Adam Thielen is a veteran, but the other guys are still developing. And I will say, if we did have Coker in the game, I feel like that would have benefited us some because he's another one between him and Leggett and Bryce. They're connecting pretty well. As of now, hopefully it'll continue. Like I said, let's just keep looking forward for the most part. And then unfortunately, Monday, we ended up hearing some bad news, which kind of had a feeling, but rookie running back Jonathan Brooks retore his ACL that he tore in college. And anytime you see a non-contact injury like that, you already know that's definitely a tear of some sort.
Yeah,
It's it's
yeah.
it's unfortunate, but I feel so bad for him, and I just hope he has a good recovery because those are some serious injuries there. Anytime a player gets a torn ACL.
Yeah, for sure. It was so unfortunate to see. It was almost, I didn't want to believe it watching the play. It was obviously, as you mentioned, a non-contact injury. And I was like, hoping and praying that it was just, a re-aggravated something. He was only going to miss, put him on IR and potentially miss the rest of the year, but hoping for anything but a re-tear of the ACL. It's just so unfortunate for the kid, young kid, fresh out of college, and he's talented. He showed, in the sample size he had the past couple of weeks, as Panthers fans, we know kind of how talented he is because we watch the games. But if you're just an average NFL fan, you kind of just look at the stats and don't really realize how the potential he has. But on the limited action he had coming off his first torn ACL, he looked really good. He looked really explosive and had some big plays. And he showed a lot of potential, and it was just really unfortunate to see early in the game against the Eagles. I believe it was, his second, third carry maybe, and he's a weapon. I was looking forward to watching him, and he's one of those guys that will help you win. And I was hoping for the best. And whenever I heard the news, it was just heartbreaking for the person. As the football player, it's heartbreaking, but just putting myself in his shoes, I can't imagine putting all the rehab and all the effort going off, tearing his ACL at Texas in college and still getting drafted in the second round, the first running back off the board, and putting in all the work to come back and perform and play well, and then re-tears it early coming back. It's so unfortunate, and really there's not a whole lot of words you can say besides hoping that he has a speedy recovery and comes back quickly and hoping for the best. Obviously, as a Panthers fan, you want him on the field as much as possible, but you really got to step back and look at this from a human perspective, and just unfortunate and horrible, and all prayers and thoughts go up to Jonathan Brooks. Obviously, we're hoping for a speedy recovery for him as a human.
Hopefully it's a strong recovery too, because sometimes people don't come back the same. Let's hope, he's young. Hopefully he can bounce back pretty good from it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There's always those stories of players coming back from torn ACLs and playing well, and he is young. He's what, 20, 21, 22 years old, so he's going to get plenty of good treatment playing in the NFL, and he's going to get good rehab and I believe he's having surgery this weekend maybe. I'm not 100% positive, but having planned surgery on his ACL, and hoping that somewhere down the line he can come back and show the NFL what he's capable of and what the potential he has. And I'd be fine with him sitting out. We're probably looking at him sitting out the majority of next year, but hoping that he can come back and play well at some point.
Yeah, I'm expecting the same. I don't see him playing much next year at all, and that's the safest way to go, especially coming off of that injury and it happening twice. So, like I said, prayers up to him and hoping for speedy and strong recovery.
Well, now the Panthers are moving on to the next game against the Cowboys, and the Panthers are actually favored, at least earlier today, at the time of recording this podcast. The Panthers are favored for the first time in a long time against the Cowboys, and this is definitely a winnable game in Charlotte. It'd be nice to see you win and move to four, double our wins from last year. We'll still get an early draft pick, and this is definitely a winnable game. We looked a couple weeks ago, we looked down the schedule and we pointed this game out as potentially in putting it in the win column. And I think if we can really, the Cowboys played really well last night on Monday Night Football. Rico Dowdle ran for over 100 yards, and CD Lamb is really their centerpiece of that offense. And if we can slow him down a little bit, I feel like we'll definitely have more success in this game. And one thing that was interesting to me was Micah Parsons walking off the field before the game was even over, and he's definitely one of those guys that's just super ultra competitive. And as a Cowboys playing on the Cowboys, I couldn't imagine, because sitting at 5-8, and you as a Cowboys fan, you kind of think you're gonna look to the playoffs every year. But yeah, their locker room, I can't imagine kind of the dynamic in that locker room. But Cam, what are you looking for in this game?
Hopefully a win. This is one of those games. There's no reason we shouldn't get one, at least in my personal opinion, especially with just where they are. I mean, obviously they got a better record than us currently, but and probably the rest of the season at that. But I mean, Cooper Rush, I mean, we'll see what he can do. He had a somewhat of a decent game last night. I think he had 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, but I feel like our offense can keep up with, what they can do, what they're capable of doing right now. Our offense has showed we can compete against, decent teams. I mean, we kept up with the Chiefs, we kept up with the Eagles, who are two of the top teams most people are talking about now. So I feel like hopefully Bryce Young can have another decent game, and hopefully, players like Xavier Leggett won't drop any crucial passes this game,
Yeah.
especially being at home. It would just be good to bring one in, because I'm not sure if you've noticed or seen any videos, but these past few games at home have been getting more filled with fans in attendance again. The excitement's there again, just
Yeah.
seeing that they can compete with these teams, and the culture is changing a little bit. And it would be nice if they could at least bring one more win home, at home at some point this season. This could be the one. And obviously that stadium is going to be packed with both fans, because Cowboy fans are literally everywhere. Some of my own family in Carolina are Cowboy fans. I'm sure they're going to be out there. If you listen to this, I hope we beat y'all. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but on the other hand, I'm expecting hopefully a win. I mean, like you said, we are looked at as a favorites, and most people looking at these two teams, I would think they would lean to the Panthers just a little bit, the way Bryce Young has been playing, because he's showing he can play under pressure. I mean, like you said, that play in the end zone when he got his sleeve ripped off made it into a 30-yard gainer, I think, somewhere in there. I
Yeah.
think he threw it I think it was to Thielen. He avoided a sack, and he looked like Bama Bryce. So if he can continue playing like that, keeping that confidence, I think he can lead us to a win with another good stat game using the guys around him. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a win, particularly for this one, because like you said, we did talk about this one early on in the season, especially once Dak went down and just the dynamic of the team as a whole. So
Yeah, for sure. Hoping for the best, hoping for a win. As of right now, the Panthers are favored by 2.5. So hopefully we can pull it out and move forward with another win and move to 4 wins on the season.
now
So
I will say I don't see it being like either side being a blowout. I think it'll be tight, but I think we could get that edge over somewhere near the end and pull out the win.
yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
well, Ian, I think it's time to move on to the buzz. You ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, the Hornets finally catch a win after 8 straight losses. They won on Sunday, December 8th against the Pacers, but unfortunately they went through 2 more losses before they got to that win. So we'll start Thursday, December 5th against the New York Knicks. That was a loss there, 125-101. Some standouts of that game was Brandon Miller, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Seth Curry, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 4 of 5 3-pointers. Like I always say, Curry's just got the shooting gene in their DNA.
Yeah.
And 7 of 9 field goals. So that was pretty solid there. And Mikic actually stood out a little bit in that game. He had 14 points and 12 assists. he stepped up.
Yeah,
Um,
he's stepped up the past couple games.
yeah, definitely be discussing him against the Cavs. So Saturday, December 7th, loss against the Cavs was 116 to 102. Standouts, Brandon Miller, 25 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. DeQuan Jeffries, 17 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist. Josh Green, 16 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. And Mark Williams, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. So, it was just one of those games even with all four of those guys scoring and making their stat sheets filled the way they did, it wasn't enough to pull off that win. Then Sunday, December 8th, against the Pacers, we finally got our win there, 113 to 109. Close in the end, but we were at least able to pull it off. It was in Indiana as well. So standouts of that game, Brandon Miller, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Mikic, 18 points, 2 rebounds, 9 assists. I like how he's stepping up. I think he's starting to find his place a little bit there because he was not playing like this a few weeks ago. So hopefully he can keep it up while some of our key guys are still out because he's getting more playing time due to that. And Nick Richards, he had 9 points, 14 rebounds, 1 assist. And Isaiah Wong, 9 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. And let me say this real quick. For the past handful of games, we have been without LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and your guy, Trey Mann. It's definitely showing, especially, believe it or not, without Trey Mann. I mean, that 6 man, those points matter. 6 man is a very important role, and he holds that. And without him, we have not won nearly as much as we have been with him. LaMelo Ball, obviously, that's the star of the team. Hopefully he comes back soon. They showed him practicing a little bit before the game, get some shots in. So hopefully that return will be soon, and hopefully Miles Bridges as well. Ian, what are your thoughts on, where we've been lately with the Buzz boys?
Yeah, so I mean, we definitely need to start stringing together some wins. It's kind of this team, especially with injuries, it feels like we're cursed at this point, man. It's LaMelo hadn't been able to stay healthy and it's kind of just rinse and repeat every year, and it's so unfortunate. I hate it. But yeah, Micic has really, started playing well. He's been nearing a double-double every game the past couple games. Against the Pacers, he had, as you mentioned, 18 points and 9 assists, one assist away from a double-double. And we just gotta start stringing together some wins and get healthy. It's frustrating that we're so hurt as a team, and Trey Mann, definitely needs to come back soon, and LaMelo and the key pieces to our team. But Brandon Miller is proved that he can stay healthy if anybody can. So knock on wood, but hopefully he stays healthy and the rest of the team can rest up and get treatment and rejoin the team and play valuable minutes. And Mark Williams, he's had a little bit, kind of been slow coming back. The team's been very, very conservative with him and not rushing him back too soon and him playing limited minutes. But hopefully he can start to get back in game shape and really start to play 20 minutes plus a game. And that's what we're hoping for. And I think once that happens, the team will really start to perform better because we'll have our center and our potential franchise center if he can stay healthy. But it's one of those things that he hasn't been able to show his potential either because he hasn't been healthy. So it's kind of, we say it with both the Panthers and Hornets, it's just a matter of health. And it's just a reoccurring thing over here as a Charlotte sports fan. But definitely hoping to follow up with some wins. Friday, we play the Chicago Bulls, who are heavily favored in that game. Cam, what are your expectations?
Well, it depends who all is playing because it seems
Yeah.
like every other day
Yeah.
we're hearing about an injury or someone's out. I'm not sure if he's still out. I know one of those games, Tijon Salon went out with an ankle injury.
Yep.
So,
Yep. He's hurt now too.
yeah. So, and he was starting to find his momentum as well. So, I mean, with the players that are playing, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago won. But that's one of those games, depending how they're playing, we could keep up with because every now and then some of our role players do step up. I will admit that, but it's not consistent. We'll just have to see how that goes. And hopefully one of those guys return soon, just to add more depth to the team because we
Yeah.
need it desperately. I mean, we're sitting at 7-17 and we're getting pretty good into the season at this point. I mean, it's about to be the end of the year soon. And these are the times when those mid-season, or going into mid-season games really count heavily. I mean, this is the time you want to start stacking your wins. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
hopefully they can still get them. 7-17 is not really the ideal record that I saw for us at this point in the season. We're sitting at 13th of 15 in the East. So hopefully we could raise that up a little bit when everybody gets healthy, and hopefully everybody can stay healthy because, like you said, it's almost like a curse. It just
Yeah.
once the injury bug bites, it just spreads. So
Yeah. And I wanted to mention real quick, I don't know if you've paid attention to the injury reports that the team posts on X, but before games, some of those, they kind of go viral almost because it's how many players are on the injury report before the games. If you read some of those comments, if anybody that's listening is on X, those some of those comments are crazy and it kind of started last year when the team was really hurt. I've kind of noticed the injury reports, and it's like a paragraph long of players that are not playing. And some of the comments from Hornets fans on those posts are pretty funny. But yeah, as you mentioned, just really just about injuries and the team playing together for consecutive games. It's really hard to gel and really hard to gain team chemistry when most of your roster is not playing. And it's one of those things that if we can stay healthy for a couple weeks and they play together, it's, the sky's the limit. But right now, it's one guy comes back and gets hurt, another guy gets hurt, and they just really haven't had any time to play together. And yeah, we need everybody healthy, and we need Trey Mann healthy, especially. It's definitely good depth off the bench. We need these guys
well,
back and playing.
well, I'm going to say this. There's no way we're going to be able to continue having a lineup of like Miller, Meekish, Josh Green, Caleb Martin, and Taj Gibson starting.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
think that, if I'm not mistaken, that was a starting lineup against the Cavs, and we already knew that was
Yeah.
going to be a loss. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I thought. It did get bad, but they ended up catching up somehow. But well, not catching up, but it wasn't as bad of a lead as it was at one point. But we cannot keep moving forward with a lineup like that.
Yeah, with all due respect to those players, it's I compare it to like a G League starting lineup minus Brandon Miller, and obviously Taj Gibson used to be a great player, well, not a great player, above average player, but he's older, and those guys that are starting in our lineup, it's just kind of comical comparative to the rest of the league and their starting lineups. But yeah, we just can't continue to trot Caleb Martin and Taj Gibson and Micic out there in the starting lineup in the NBA and expect to win or compete in any facet of the game.
It's almost laughable. You can't
Yeah.
help but snicker at it whenever you see a lineup like that pregame. When I saw that day, I just chuckled and shook my head at it. So
Yeah.
but that's just kind of where we are at the season. Hopefully, the key boys will come back. Melo, Bridges, Trey Mann, and hopefully Salon will get his ankle right and hopefully not miss too much of an extended amount of time. So
Yeah. I mean, we're just hoping to stack some wins at some point. A 2 game winning streak at this point would be nice. Hopefully we can come out Friday and look good and win, especially with half our lineup being out. It'd be nice I'd take a 2 game winning streak at this point, but we'll see what happens.
it would be nice to see the Ball brothers go against each other, but not sure how likely that is. So, well, I guess is while we're on the topic of hoops, time to go to Carolina College hoops.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start with UNC. Man, oh man, they're not starting off the way I would hope they would, but in reality, they lost a lot of depth compared to last season. So UNC, last we had an episode, they were playing Bama in that game. So they ended up losing that game to Bama Wednesday, December 4th, 94-79. You could tell kind of early in that game they were not going to be able to pull that one off. Bama, I mean, they're a good team. Them and Auburn both. It's just amazing how the two schools who were known for their football for a long time are big in the college basketball world now. So, but they are both fun teams to watch. So hopefully the best for both of them while we're in the state of Alabama as well.
Yeah.
They played Georgia Tech on Saturday, December 7th. That was a win, 68-65, close game, but they were able to pull it off. And coming up versus LaSalle, Saturday, December 14th at 3 p.m. So they'll be playing Saturday. Hopefully they can secure another win. Now, on to the Duke Blue Devils sitting at number 4. They had a win versus Auburn Wednesday, December 4th, 84-78. They had a win against Louisville Sunday, December 8th, 76-65. And playing currently as we speak, they're playing Incarnate Word Cardinals today, December 10th. So I'm automatically assuming they'll probably get another win. They got a pretty good squad over there. I can't lie.
Yeah.
You know,
They look really good.
they really do, and they're very fun to watch. So now on to the Wolfpack, NC State. They had a loss versus Texas Wednesday, December 4th, 63-59. They did have a win following up the Texas game against Florida State Saturday, December 7th, 84-74. And playing currently today, December 10th, they're playing Coppin State. So hopefully that's a game they can pull off as well. Wish all those teams the best. So, man, what you think? How you feeling about college hoops right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me because the SEC is so, there's so many good teams in the SEC right now. As you mentioned, Auburn, and just going off of the Auburn, Alabama, because North Carolina played both Alabama and Duke played Auburn, and Duke looks really good. I watched a little bit of the Auburn Duke game just to kind of tune in, and because it was a big game. Auburn was ranked, I believe they're still ranked 2, but they were ranked 2, and Duke was 10 at the time, I believe. And Duke looks really good. Cooper Flag played really well, and watched like 2 minutes of the Alabama North Carolina game, and it was kind of slow, so I kind of turned it off. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I think NIL's probably played a little bit of a role in the SEC starting to pick up its basketball. Talking Auburn and Alabama, Tennessee, all these teams that are looking really good from the SEC this year, and I'm sure NIL has a little bit to play with that. But yeah, it's for a long time Duke and North Carolina and Kansas and all these teams, all these blue bloods were dominating college basketball. And it's kind of the tides have turned a little bit, not too much. Obviously Kansas and Duke and North Carolina are still always powerhouse teams. But it's just kind of interesting. I feel like the landscape of college basketball is changing a little bit with NIL, with teams in the SEC starting to pick it up and really, really participate and look good in the world of college basketball when they really didn't previously.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, NIL is taking over college sports. I mean, it's huge. I mean, today BYU landed 5-star #1 high school recruit. I think BYU landed him, and he
Yeah.
already has like 7 million in NIL to go there. So it just shows it's a big thing. I mean, that can attract players to other schools, and I'm sure that's what's going on with Bama and Auburn and schools like that who weren't, always in the top like they are in college basketball. So it's huge, man.
Yeah.
Ti times are changing, but hopefully these other teams that were always up there, like you said, the blue blood teams, hopefully they can stay in the mix as well. Whenever you have players that time for them to move on, it's usually time they got to rebuild and start recruiting again. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, Buzz Pound, as always, we appreciate y'all joining us for now at this point, episode 14, which is just crazy to me. Thank y'all for sticking around and continuing to support me and Cam and listen to the podcast. As always, you can follow us on our social medias at Buzz Pound Pod on both X and Instagram. And you can find our podcast on both Spotify and YouTube at Buzz Pound Podcast.
I'm going to say thanks as well, BuzzPound. We appreciate each and every one of you that listen to us weekly. Continue to support us and give us feedback. Let us know of any recommendations you all have for us. We always take in any and everything into consideration. So let's keep pounding and keep the high mentality going.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Buzz Pound. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Until next time, this is the Buzz Pound.
Touchdown!